showing me more red flags.
Love.
Don't ignore the red flags,
Love.
people. This is why I'm not married. I still have time to run. Welcome back to our channel. I'm Justin.
And I'm Chelsey. Don't forget to subscribe and join our family.
The mission of our channel is to inspire, encourage, and inform you on how to be the best version of yourself.
So we already talked about dating, so now we're going to talk about compatibility and some red flags. So what would be your number one red flag to tell everybody to run from?
Well, I think it varies by person. So I think you have to understand what your non-negotiables are in dating, which will ultimately translate into marriage, something that's a lifelong or should be a lifelong commitment. But I think you have to identify what your non-negotiables are. First, identify that the person that you see when you look in the mirror, they're flawed. They're not perfect. We're all on this pursuit, this journey to becoming the best version of ourselves. So there's no perfect person. However, understanding that there is no other perfect person, you should have non-negotiables that you just really stand by. And it should identify with your morals, it should identify with your character, it should identify with the things that you believe. So for instance, if a non-negotiable or a red flag for you is someone who is not willing to learn, someone who's not willing to grow, someone who's not able to adapt to change, then that's a red flag for you. Your red flag might be your spirituality. Maybe that's something that you believe in and you hope in and you trust in, and it's something that you won't ever sacrifice. If the person you're dating doesn't seem like they care or are even interested in wanting to learn about your spirituality or wanting to develop spirituality, that should be a red flag. So, I think to each his own, but I would say before you are dating and talking to people, identify what your red flags are, because I think there are a lot of people who create red flags that aren't really red flags. They're people being human and they're being flawed and they're being, like you, making mistakes and trying to get it right. So just make sure that you don't set the bar too high, but make sure that you don't go beyond your non-negotiables. What do you think?
I think there are some definite red flags, especially when it comes with a female looking towards a male, because number one, identify if they have serious anger, because you do not want to deal with an abusive relationship. So if you are having an issue and they are quick to lash out or quick to respond in a very negative attitude, that can be a red flag. They can change if they're willing to change and grow, and that they're just dealing with something that's different. But if it is a constant thing, 3 strikes, they're out. Don't get into a relationship when it's abusive. I know it's hard, when you're in it, and it's hard to get out, but I highly encourage ladies, run as fast as you can, because you do not want to suffer and deal with that for the rest of your life. So that is a huge red flag. Anger, rage. It's definitely can lead to murderous thoughts, violence. It can lead to many things. So red flag, okay? Red flag.
And I like the idea or the mention of, you don't want to deal with it for the rest of your life. A lot of times I think we're in relationships. I think women are notoriously known for this, but I think men probably do it as well. You think you can change someone. So I'm dating someone and early on I'm seeing every time you have an issue, you're super angry, you get violent, and you get really immature and childish. And I think, maybe you'll grow out of that, or maybe I can help you change through that. Just know that you have to be with someone who's willing to grow and willing to change. You can't change a person. It just doesn't work that way. We're going to talk a little bit more, maybe in this video, maybe a different video about, the evolution of relationships and the people within and how you make that happen. But yeah, don't neglect the red flags that you see, because you will have a long life journey of misery when you saw it in the beginning and you could have avoided it.
So another red flag or thing that you should definitely identify and evaluate is dealing with a different religion. The Bible says in 2 Corinthians 6:14 that we should not be unequally yoked. And this is definitely for Christians out there, because I know I have friends that are Christian and have been with Muslim, and they struggled, because when it comes with your belief system, it's your worldview, and your worldview is not what you see, but what you view your life with. So if you were going to be one with somebody in the future, you don't want to be one with somebody that has a different worldview, a different view on life, because their belief systems will be different, their values will be different, the things that they believe or don't believe will be different, and you'll have that battle within your relationship. And just think about it. If you are a believer or whatever belief that you believe, what do you want your children to believe in? Because if your husband or your wife is believing something else, that can be a battle within the household itself. So that is not just a red flag, that's just something that you should evaluate when you are searching for a relationship or you're in a relationship. Those things you should discuss, definitely.
And the caveat I would say, hopefully this doesn't offend anyone, but I don't think this is for the t-shirt wearing Christians or t-shirt wearing Muslims. I think if you are serious about what you believe in, and it doesn't mean you're perfect, it doesn't mean, you go to church every single Sunday and you don't miss a mark and you're, perfect like Jesus was. But if you really truly understand the power of what someone believes, the power of what someone thinks and hopes after and has faith in, you will understand the power of having someone who doesn't have that. When you're in a rough situation and you need prayer, when you're in a rough situation and you need understanding, and if you're in a rough situation and you need grace and forgiveness and understanding, as I mentioned, you want that person to be able to give that to you. If you are genuine about your Christian walk, if you're genuine about whatever walk you have, you want to ensure that the things that matter, as Chelsey said, most to you, matters most to them. Because when you two are in those very difficult, tumultuous situations, you will be able to both pursue through it. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy because we're both Christian. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have our difficulties and our trials. However, because we have the same foundation, even though one person might be on a different level or someone's understanding might be a little bit more deeper than another's, understand that you'll be able to navigate those rough waters much more seamlessly if you two are not unequally yoked. I believe I've mentioned this in one of our videos before, but if you look around, do a little qualitative research, you'll understand that a lot of people are not happy in their relationships. They're not happy in their marriages, and you have the opportunity, if you're still dating, if you have not walked down that aisle, you have the opportunity to evaluate some things and make sure that you don't put yourself in a situation that you don't want to be in.
So ladies, when it comes with evaluating a man, look at where their foundation is. Is it under God or is it under themselves? Because if it's under themselves, they're very self-absorbed, they're very focused on themselves, they're focused on their career, they're focused on things they want to do. It's become self-minded, it's selfish. Or if they're focused on God, they're seeking Christ and everything. And that means they have a strong foundation because they have to be selfless in order to serve God. They have to be selfless in order to serve everyone else and obey God. So that means their focus is less on them and less on Christ. And that means they can serve and lead you better. So if you just evaluate and see where their resources are, what they're looking for, where they lean on, who they lean on to, you can, that's a huge red flag depending on where they're at. And that's when, because in the future, you don't want somebody that is claiming that they love you and really they just love themselves. And they're just trying to take things from you, because there are givers and there's takers. And if you are a giver, you can give but so much. You're gonna wanna receive as well.
Facts.
And you're not gonna want to have a taker in your life, because all they're gonna do is take. They're either gonna, even if you're going through something, because we all go through something, they're gonna take the self-pity from other people because they have to give to you. And you don't want to deal with that. You want to have reciprocity. You want to have give and take. And if you see, and if you're with somebody that just takes the life out of you, then you need to run, because it's just going to be an endless cycle and an endless journey in your relationship, in your marriage, of just take, and you're just trying to give. I know, definitely ladies, we have a heart to give, but we have to be able to have a balance and have boundaries before we can just give our all to somebody. We have to know that they're willing to give their all to us as well.
And I think that's something worth underscoring for women out there who, may be looking for a man. The man should be finding you, but I know this is life, and a lot of us are anxious about our future and making that happen. But we talk about a Christian man, and I think a lot of women kind of overlook that in today's day and age. You just want somebody who's fine and in the gym, got a good job, don't got a jail record, whatever. But at the end of the day, when you get with a self-absorbed person, I don't know if you realize the damage that you are allowing to enter into your life, the future or the potential damage that you're allowing to enter into your life. You want someone and you want someone confident, however. You want someone to love themselves, because if they don't love themselves, they're going to have a hard time loving you. But when a man is really after, God and really trying to get it right, it makes it easier for him to love you. It makes it easier for him to put you before he puts himself first. So just make sure that you don't overlook the fact that, okay, he doesn't go to church, but he got a good job and he got a good family. You're gonna need him in some really tough situations and some really low points in your life. And if he is self-absorbed, you're going to get the short end of the stick. And the same is true for fellows out there. If the woman is self-absorbed, you will always get the short end of the stick.
And this relates to pride. Pride
Yes.
versus humility. This is a definite red flag. You
Yeah.
do not want to be with somebody that is prideful, because
Yeah.
pride comes before the fall.
Yeah.
Satan was prideful, and you know what happened to him? He fell all the way down to earth, all the way down to hell. So you don't want to be prideful.
And this is such a day and age where pride is like accepted. Like it's like people want to be prideful. Like, oh yeah, like I did it. I got that job. I made that, that money. I built that house. I bought that car. And it's just like you don't even realize how toxic you really are, and you don't realize that there is a God who is literally spoon feeding you blessings each and every day. The very life and oxygen that you have within your being is a gift, and it's given to you, and you couldn't do it on your own. This is for the believers out there, but just understand, like Chelsey said, pride, it comes before destruction, and that destruction ultimately will allow you to fall. And I've been a prideful person in certain instances, in certain situations, and it really is not, it's not healthy, it's toxic, and it disrupts everything, and it destroys everything. So just be sure, I mean, I agree with Chelsey, like, you have your non-negotiables, but pride definitely needs to be one of the non-negotiables. And if you're a prideful person, there's some things that you can do to work on that. First and foremost, realize that you are not your own. The gifts and the talents and the abilities that you have within yourself is a gift. This time that you have on this life can be easily taken away from you, and your tomorrow isn't even promised. So just be cognizant of your pride and keep it in check.
And we'll talk more about humility when we talk about sacrificial love. But humility is very crucial when it comes to relationships, because it's very selfless. And you have to choose selfless before selfish.
Yeah.
Especially in a relationship. So a couple more things to identify that could be red flags would be respect. Both ways, your man should respect you, and your females respect your man as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think we can just like snap out and say whatever we want, throw whatever we want. No, we have to respect our man. And that's one thing that men do value. They value respect. We value certain things, and we just need to respect them in regards to our communication, in regards to what we give or take. Whatever we do, even like our friendships, we have to have like a sense of respect. So men, if you're looking for a lady and they don't respect you, well,
brother, she ain't the one.
red flag. Do you have anything to say about respect?
Nah, I mean, yeah, I agree.
Another thing to evaluate that could be a red flag is communication. I know, for me personally, I don't communicate that well, and sometimes I just don't want to talk. But that could be a real issue in the future or in the present. Communication is very important. I know I have been working on to actively communicate and to speak up and to make sure that my voice is heard, and as well as listen as much as I can. So I know there's more ladies that speak versus men that speak. But right now we're like the opposite. He talks too much and I talk too less. But it's okay, because when you identify these things, you can work with it, you can grow, and you can become better. So if that is an issue in your current relationship, address it, make it known so you guys can work on that. And if they are refusing to communicate, don't expect them to communicate in marriage then. Yeah. I know someone said that when they're married, and if they talked like 50% before relationships, cut that in half in marriage, and they can talk less, because you get so comfortable with that person. You just
say that one more time.
If you talk 50% in a relationship, like during the dating season, and then when you're married, it will be cut in half. But that's not always the case.
Of course it's not.
It's not always the case.
Right.
Because I think, eventually you get so comfortable you can talk all the time.
We hope and pray.
I'm just saying, communication is important. And listening is just as important as communicating, because you can talk, but if you're not listening to a person, you can miss what they're really saying, or if they're really hurting, or whatever's going on in their life. So,
and I would say, just to build upon that, in conversation, seek to understand. I was that guy who was very defensive and always had a response for everything that was said to me. Seek to understand what a person is saying. You may come from two different vantage points. You may come from two different backgrounds, two different life experiences where you have different perspectives. Understand where they're coming from. Allow it to just, process in your mind a bit, and make sure that you have a healthy conversation. Even if you don't really agree, even if you don't like it, seek to understand what your significant other is trying to communicate to you.
yes.
So should we talk about compatibility?
Yeah.
Talk about all the bad stuff.
Well, those are all red flags.
Yeah, all red flags.
So I know all of that was like tons of red flags. Like maybe you're looking at your significant other and they're
Like they ain't the one.
That could be.
Run, Forrest, run.
But take it seriously. Think about these things that we said, but also be yourself. Be who God created you to be. Don't try to change to be someone else. Change to be better, but don't try to change to be someone else so you can be with that person. If you can't, there's always somebody else that God will have for you. But at the end of the day, be yourself. And be better. Always be the better version of yourself. This is the whole purpose of the YouTube channel, be a better version of yourself.
Yeah.
So be the best that you can be, but don't change who God created you to be.
Yep.
So overall, identify the red flags, evaluate what's going on. If you are in a dating season, talk, have a conversation, have questions. There's nothing wrong with having a full-blown interview if you want to know, so you won't waste each other's time.
And be real during that process, because what's done in the dark will come to the light. So one of the main things I told Chelsey in the beginning of our relationship is I will not paint a picture that won't exist. Be real, because you want to ensure that you are giving this person what they deserve, what they think they're getting. So during that process, let's be 100. Keep it 100. Until next time, guys, I'm Justin.
And I'm Chelsey.